one day, my family and like a gang of like other family members, aunties, uncles, cousins, family, friends, people that weren't even related to us, right? I don't know what the fuck got into everybody, but you gotta understand that at the time, everybody, like all the elders, they were all refugees, right? And they're new to America type shit. So one day we were just chilling, and then they were like, all like, hey, let's all hop in our cars and let's just go cruise around. Like they're like, let's just cruise around, drive the fuck around, and just check out America, right? We don't know where the fuck we going, but we just gonna go because we in another country. We don't know shit about this country. Let's just go roll around this bitch, right? So all the kids, we didn't really know what the fuck was going on. Me and all my cousins and shit, we just knew that all the old folks, all the OGs, and put us in a car, and now we're all cruising around like a fucking snake, fam, like hella cars, right? Just following each other and shit, right? I just know that whoever the fuck was leading the caravan saw a fucking farm and was like, let's dip up in this bitch, right? So, we pull up in this farm. You had to drive down like a dirt road, and then you end up in front of the farmer's house. And then around his house, there's hella land and there's hella shit, right? Horses, cows, goats, chickens, peacocks, yeah, all kind of shit, fam. And then like tractor trailers and corn, like real life farm, fam, right? And we hop out. Kids, we think, I'm like, damn, they go chicken, they go ducks. I'm fucking trying to run around, right? They had squirrels running up in the trees and shit. So the farmer come out. He see a whole army of Vietnamese refugees at his house, right? He wasn't an ass. He was cool. He was probably happy to see some people because out there in the boondocks, they probably don't even get a gang of fucking visitors, right? So he like, howdy ho type shit. Like, what's up? Like, how can I help y'all type shit, right? And somehow, like, my uncles and all them were talking, and they was like, I don't know what the fuck their thought process was, but they used one of the kids to translate, and they was like, wanted to know if they could buy a cow, right? Oh shit, right? They just wanted to know how much could they get them a cow for. They wanted them a cow, right? That shit storming outside. Y'all hear that shit? And so the farmer, I remember this fool reaction. That fool looking at them like they were crazy, like y'all tripping, right? Like, fuck you mean you want a cow? Like, where the hell are you gonna take this cow? You can't put him in your car, right? And then my uncles and them were like, my dad and my uncles and them, y'all hear that shit? They're like, nah. We ain't gonna put it in our car. We finna smoke that bitch. We finna murk the cow right here and eat the motherfucker, right? So the farmer was like, are you serious? Like y'all just want to kill the cow and eat it right here and shit? And they're like, yeah, like that's what we want to do, right? And we deep in the motherfucker, right? And the farmer's like, that shit, one cow is too expensive, fam. Like I don't think y'all got the money just to buy a cow off me like that, man, right? But he thought we were hella dope. He thought we were cool as fuck, right? The farmer was just sitting there chopping it up with us. And then he got this like a light bulb moment. He had this bright ass idea, right? He was like, I don't got a cow for y'all, right? He was like, I do got this old ass horse and shit, right? It's out there, like all the way out there in the fields right now. He was like, this horse older than the bitch, it's probably gonna die soon, right? He's like, this motherfucker probably gonna die soon, right? He like, I'll sell y'all that motherfucker, right? And I ain't gonna charge y'all like an arm and a leg. Cause that motherfucker on his way out anyway. Y'all feel me? My uncles and them, man, they OG. They like real life Vietnamese, right? They like real life West Side when we ride as Vietnamese. They like, hell yeah. Like, where that horse at? Like, they're like, run that bitch, right? So they struck up this deal with this farmer for this old ass horse. So this farmer was like, that motherfucker all the way out there in the field. Like, you see it? You see that dot out there? That's that motherfucker right there, right? The farmer's like, go get that motherfucker. That's all you, right? All my uncles, my dad and all them, they fucking went out there to the field, right? And I went too. Like, a gang of kids went and shit. We mobbed across this, like, dry ass, dirt, grass. I don't know what the fuck you call that shit. Hay fucking field, right? And all my uncles and shit, my dad and them, they got to this horse. And they tried to fucking throw, it was fucking funny as fuck. Because they tried to throw a rope around that motherfucking neck. And the horse was tripping. It was older than the motherfucker, right? It was tripping. And they were trying to hit its butt with sticks and shit, trying to make it go this way. One of my uncles grabbed the horse's tail, and the fucking horse took off running and dragged my uncle for a little bit till he let go and shit. It was crazy, right? And then finally the farmer came out there and helped and got that motherfucker. So I'm a little kid, man. Little Chucky dog. I'm mobbing around, tripping out on all this shit, right? At this farm. And I'm really loving it. Like, hella animals. We over here fucking with a horse. So anyways, they got that motherfucker back to like the farmhouse and shit, right? The farmer put a rifle to the horse and just smoked it, right? And then fucking, they basically, after he smoked it, that fool dropped. All my uncles, my aunts and all them, they were just on that horse like flies on shit. And they were just breaking that bitch down. Like real life refugees, fam. Chopping that fool up. They hung that motherfucker up, chunks of it, skinned it, chopped that bitch down, right? And the whole time, the farmer was just standing there. Y'all gotta understand, this fool was probably like tripping the fuck out. This fool standing there, his family standing there, his wife, his kids, they're all just standing there looking at these. Basically, to me, I think they were thinking that we were savages, right? And they were like, this shit really happening? And they were just standing there watching, like dumbfounded, right? And my people were just breaking that bitch down, right? They grabbed boulders, my uncles and them. They grabbed like big boulders, like bowling-sized rocks, bowling ball-sized rocks, and put it all on the ground, like in a square. They made a fire. They made a fire inside the rocks. They got wood that was laying around the farm and shit like that, right? They threw that shit, that bitch, made a bonfire. And then they threw the motherfucking chicken wire over that motherfucker. And then they just started throwing chunks of horse meat on that bitch and fucking cooking it, right? And I remember they didn't have no salt, no pepper, no seasoning on the meat. They just took the meat and they threw that motherfucker on the grill, right? And I was a kid and my mom said, come here. I went over there and she gave me this big ass chunk of meat, feel me? And she's like, here, eat that shit. And I knew where the fuck it came from. It came from that horse, right? But I wasn't tripping. I was just like, I didn't even know. I was too young to understand that people don't eat horses like that, right? But she gave me that meat, y'all. To this day, I don't know what it is, but I ain't never tasted another piece of meat like that, too. I bit into that motherfucker. That shit was hella juicy. And one thing that really like stood out to me was the way it tasted. It tastes like grilled, like charcoaly. It tastes because it was cooked on like real live wood type shit, right? Like chunks of wood that was laying around the farm. You know what I mean? So it had like a smoky wood taste, right? And I never tasted some shit like that. I was like, this shit cool. And I was just fucking that steak up, right? Big ass chunk of meat. My mom gave me a chunk right here. I was a little ass kid. That shit was hot too. I was just holding that bitch, eating that motherfucker like a savage. Right? And the whole time, the farm, and then they took hella meat. And the farmer brought out garbage bags. And everybody, all the relatives took hella meat in garbage bags and shit. And put that shit in the fridge. Took that shit home. But that was the first time and only time I ever ate horse.